Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
First, it was hydroxychloroquine. Then it was ivermectin. Both were proven to get rid of COVID. So why did the government shut both of these down?
What is your theory on what happened here? What was this about?
It was an orchestrated attack, and it was all meant to promote the COVID shot. So you look at March 2021, only 10% of the population had gotten these shots. Government was nervous about that. The FDA put something on their website telling people not to take ivermectin for COVID. April 1st, 2021, Houston Methodist Hospital becomes the first in the country to mandate the shots. That's 5 months before Biden. Same day, April 1st, 2021, Biden launches COVID-19 Community Corps, $10 billion propaganda program. Just boatloads of money going out to influencers, church groups, sports groups to promote the safe and effective narrative of the vaccine. The medical boards started coming after doctors all over the country who were promoting ivermectin. A couple weeks later, Biden mandates the shots and takes away monoclonal antibodies. If you look at the timeline, it's very clear.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys had a good weekend. All right, that was Dr. Mary Tally Bowden. I'm trying to get her on the podcast. Man, it is pretty crazy. We are 5 years removed from all that stuff. And the reason I play that is because I'm actually recording today with Dr. Peter McCullough, who was one of the main doctors that, gosh, I think got put through the ringer, but he also was one of the main doctors that has sounded the alarm and was sounding the alarm from the get-go when it comes to COVID and the mask mandates and then leading to the vaccine and all that. So this lady, I really liked that clip because it talks about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and all that stuff, which, man, how crazy is it to think back at how bad that stuff was vilified. But in terms of ivermectin in particular, man, this drug, which is like a parasitic drug, it's something I'm going to talk to Dr. McCullough quite a bit about, but it is really like, oh, my voice just cracked. It is really has unbelievable benefits, but it's not touted because it's out of patent and it costs like 4 cents a pill. I mean, I'm kidding about that, but it's dirt cheap. So there's no money in it. But Dr. McCullough here, let me play a clip for you guys because I will definitely try to get this interview out this week.
What we've learned is this childhood vaccine schedule is not what we thought. And now critically looking at it, we have a situation that we just learned that the World Council for Health, now international body, is calling for a complete moratorium on childhood vaccines. First international organization to call for that. Why? Because the vaccines are piling up one after another. They're being given in multiple salvos. There are safety events now that we learned. In 1986, the U.S. passed legislation that indemnified the manufacturers of vaccines. In that legislation, it says the vaccines have unavoidable harm. It says that. So what are the harms that we're seeing? It's clear when the vaccines are given in multiple rounds. It's probably no single vaccine and no single additive, but it's the sum total of vaccines given at once.
Let me jump in real quick. You know, obviously I don't have kids of my own, but I guess I would ask this question to all of you with kids. You know, how is it? I know the process of getting kids vaccinated is almost forced on you, at least here in the United States. But like, I'm so curious. Gosh, I hope none of you have experienced issues with your kids due to the vaccination process, but I'm curious if anybody has. I'm trying to actually see if I can find some people that are willing to speak on that a little bit, even if in anonymity, like even if you wanted to tell me about it, and obviously I'll never use your name or anything. But, you know, what I find crazy about that entire situation is just the oh God, how do I want to describe this? Like, I don't understand why it's just not okay to ask questions. You know, it's another scenario of like, what is the big deal about just like asking questions and wanting to understand? Obviously that applied during COVID. And it's happening again. It's happening now with the Republican Party, like the Charlie Kirk stuff. I would throw that in there. You know, people are getting yelled at for asking questions and poking holes in that official narrative. That is wild, man. That is wild. Everything, honestly, if you follow the money and follow the greed, it pretty much explains, you know, behavior that in my opinion doesn't fall under the rational common sense category. And so, like, even with childhood vaccines, and Dr. McCullough talks a lot about, you know, all kinds of vaccines, adult vaccines as well, and I'm going to get into all that with him. But again, I guess my confusion, not confusion, but I just never understand why some people get so triggered if you just are asking questions. And I'm not even talking people in the medical community. I'm talking like normal people. Like, I've got friends that over the years, especially over the past few years, when I've talked about not even the COVID vaccine, when I've talked about other vaccines, like vaccines for their children, they just go berserk. And I'm like, what is your deal? Are you on some kind of payroll? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, let's listen to the rest of this little spiel from Dr. McCullough.
We're seeing a strong signal towards neuropsychiatric disorders, so attention deficit disorder, Asperger's, autism, seizures, allergic diseases, asthma, atopic dermatitis.
And even death.
Need for termination, sudden infant death syndrome. And then the converse now. This is the converse, which is papers by Mawson, Hooker, Miller, Thomas, and an older Amish study. All 5 studies show if children go natural, no vaccines whatsoever, they have the best outcomes. Wow. Freedom from...
It got cut off there. Man, that is pretty crazy. That is seriously pretty crazy. And obviously the data shows a direct correlation between the rise of autism and the rise of vaccines. Like, how is this that controversial? I just don't get it. Anyway, I will definitely get that episode out, and you know, I'm going to actually ask him some good stuff. Talk about Make America Healthy Again, Robert F. Kennedy. You know, is that amounting to anything? I'm going to get into the Dr. Fauci stuff. I think it'll be a good one. All right, really quick, man, I don't know what is going on with America and the Republican Party. It is fracturing, like, in a big way. And over the weekend, President Trump went ballistic against Marjorie Taylor Greene. And we've talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene quite a bit this year. And, you know, at first I thought, gosh, maybe she's being empowered to be the way she is, but I don't think that necessarily is the case. Well, maybe it is. Who knows? But I will say Trump finally came out and really went at her and talked about primarying her. And I think he called her a lunatic and basically grouped her with Thomas Massie and Rand Paul, both guys that I like. And it is backfiring in his face. It really is. He is really losing support, but I don't know if he cares. I really don't. I don't think he cares. I think that for whatever reason, and again, what episode was it? I forget who I talked about this with. Maybe it was Jeb Baugh. We talked about, I think it was Jeb, where I said 2016 Trump and 2020 Trump and 2024 Trump pre-inauguration are not the same human being as 2025 post-inauguration Trump. So the question becomes, did something change? Is he under quote unquote duress? Or, I don't know, was this the greatest psyop in history? Who the heck knows? But I will tell you, I think MAGA's dead. I don't even think MAGA really exists anymore, because all of the people that were really MAGA are burning their red hats and posting it on social media. Have you guys seen this? This is pretty crazy. People are they're either taking their hat off and throwing it in the garbage, their red MAGA hat, or they're literally burning them, which is crazy. So anyway, we shall see what happens. They are now embracing America first. That is kind of the movement. And you really have to give that credit to that movement to Nick Fuentes. It's the name of his show. It's really the name of his brand to a big extent. So anyway, it is going to be interesting to see what happens. Trump definitely is taking tremendous heat, but again, I just don't think he cares. I don't think he cares. And I think that for whatever reason, obviously he knows what is happening and he's just not addressing it, and he's doubling and tripling and quadrupling down. All right, you know what? I think I've now embraced the motto of jumping around in these episodes. Let's jump back into health real quick, because I did want to play this clip again about ivermectin, and this is ivermectin in cream form. And this is a doctor named Dr. William Makis. This guy's awesome. He's really, again, he was another one of the truth tellers during the COVID stuff.
Ivermectin paste, ivermectin cream is actually FDA approved for the treatment of rosacea. A lot of people don't know that, but ivermectin cream is actually FDA approved. Your dermatologist can prescribe it.
So again, he's talking about ivermectin paste or ivermectin cream. And what I find fascinating is that it is FDA approved for dermatology stuff, like for skin-related issues. So if any of you are suffering from it, give this a listen.
Now, of course, the doctors hesitate to prescribe it, but it's a 1% ivermectin cream. You could treat rosacea. The ivermectin horse paste is actually 1.87%, so it's stronger. It's almost twice as strong. You can literally use it for any inflammatory or autoimmune skin condition. It'll treat cystic acne, which is the worst possible acne you can have, and it'll clear it completely.
That's amazing. That is, I actually had a cystic acne situation years ago, and that is the worst acne possible. I had like one giant, it was like a boil, man. That thing was gnarly. That thing was super gnarly. I wish I had known about ivermectin prior to this. But again, if any of you are suffering from any skin-related issues, please pay attention to this. Reach out to me to talk about ivermectin for sure. But then do your own research. I don't even want to say talk to your doctor, because chances are your doctor is going to say, no, that stuff is crazy. That's conspiracy theorist stuff. And you know what? It's not. The reason they say that is because A, they don't spend the time to do the research. And secondly, the big pharma companies are putting so much money to not allow something like ivermectin, which is incredibly inexpensive to manufacture and prescribe and use. They don't want that. It's not financially beneficial.
It'll clear eczema. Like I said, in many cases, it will clear psoriasis. But most impressive of all, it will clear skin cancers. And I now have tons of testimonials from patients who had either basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, melanoma. They started applying the horse paste twice a day. Within a couple of weeks, you see the lesion, the skin lesion start changing. You can see it. Just after a couple of weeks of application, the lesion starts changing. It starts getting smaller. And after a month or two, it may fall off completely and it's gone.
This is seriously insane. This is insane that now again, for those of you that might be a naysayer in this, my retort would be why? Why do you not believe this doctor? This guy's a medical doctor like every other medical doctor that might be saying something you believe in. Why would you not take what he says into account? It's really pretty crazy, man. We've like lived in this world where asking questions is just so frowned upon, and I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And for me, anything that has a financial benefit, let alone an unbelievable financial benefit for one side of the equation, to me, that always should be something we question. All right, let's listen to the rest of this.
You can treat any skin cancer with ivermectin paste, the horse paste, the $8-9 horse paste that you get at whatever veterinary supply.
That's crazy. You know what? I'm going to try something. I actually have dry hands. I've always kind of had dry hands my whole life. They're not too bad right now, but I kind of do have on the drier side of hands. I'm going to get some ivermectin horse paste. I don't know where the heck I'm going to get that from. Maybe I'll go to a vet store, see if I can get some. And I'm going to put his theory to test. Let's see what happens. All right. Anyway, my point is by the way, anybody out there that's suffering with long COVID, I have one friend, I'm not going to name her name. I know she's not listening, but I'm not going to name her name because I think friends of hers listen and they'll probably tell her that I named her name, and then they'll tell her, and then she'll call me up and yell at me, even though I didn't name her name, but that's how she is. So she has long COVID, and this girl, I think I've talked about her before. Maybe I have. Anyway, she's such a knucklehead because she posts all these like woe is me stuff on Facebook and all that. And I'm just over it. I'm over it because I have tried 10 different times to tell her, hey, you've tried everything else. Just try ivermectin. See what happens. There's a lot of clinical data showing that it cures people's long COVID, sometimes as soon as 24 to 48 hours. And she just refuses to even try. So when she posts her woe is me images of how her life has changed, I do feel bad still, but not really because, she tries like, acupuncture using porcupine needles. I'm making that up, but she tries all these crazy cockamamie stuff. And then she won't try this because of, whatever. I don't know if it's her politics, if it's her cognitive dissonance, but anyway, it's hard for me to like empathize with her, although that's so bad. I should empathize anyway. But anyway, I might try one more time to tell her to give ivermectin a shot. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll see after what the interview with Dr. McCullough, what that nets out. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to Thursday. I believe it was Thursday. Yeah, my bad for only 2 episodes last week. Thursday's episode with Kawa. Man, I thought that was such an interesting episode, and I'm not going to ruin it for those that haven't listened to it yet, but I highly recommend you go back. I know I say that every interview, but I really do. Here's a guy that has a really interesting story. First of all, he's a total badass, like Green Beret, Army Special Forces, went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and he is Afghani. So like imagine being from that country and then being in that country on behalf of the United States during all that time post 9/11, and then basically having to kind of kill your countrymen. That's a little bit tough to swallow, man. I know there's definitely some long-term PTSD with that he's dealing with. We didn't really get into that in the episode, but it was a really good episode. We talked about so many different things. And I'll tell you, one of the things we talked about, and it just speaks to, my personal theory about the concept of the boogeyman and the big bad wolf. And, there always has to be, that enemy and that something to fight in order for there to be fear and in order for that military industrial complex to flourish. And, I think Hamas falls into that category. I really do. The more and more I think about this, and, I know I've brought on several Palestinian folks and nobody really agrees with me that much. Although I do have a couple that I might bring on. They actually agree with me. Maybe I'll bring them on literally just because they agree with me. But anyway, I think they do fall into that category. And I think they fall into the big bad wolf, the boogeyman, and the other two that always seemed weird to me was Al-Qaeda and this ISIS. And the reason they're weird is because they supposedly, their quote unquote charter, I find that hilarious that these like terrorist organizations have like a mission statement and a charter. That's like super goofy. But supposedly they hate Israel and they hate the Jewish people and all that, but they literally never attack Israel. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Al-Qaeda and ISIS, the two probably preeminent awful terrorist organizations. Why are they not attacking the country that's now, don't get me wrong, I'm glad they're not attacking them, but why are they not attacking the country that supposedly they were built to defend against? Isn't that strange? Anyway, let's listen to this clip this is that CIA guy, John Krakauer or something. I can't get this guy on the podcast. He always emails me and he's like, sounds great, looking forward to it. And then I'll be like, well, give me some dates. And then he never gets back to me. Bastard.
I feel very, very confident that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad access agent. For example, if you are a foreign intelligence service and you want to know what Bill Clinton says about an issue, you're not going to be able to recruit Bill Clinton. He's not recruitable. So you do the next best thing. You recruit someone who has regular, easy access to them. And then I
just realized this is the wrong clip, but you know what? That's okay. Let's listen to the rest of this because this is in regards to Jeffrey Epstein, who's back in the news again. Dude, those Epstein files are long gone. Nothing's ever going to come of that.
There's a little blackmail thrown in at the same time, it makes the quality of your information that much better. Otherwise, why would Jeffrey Epstein have audio and video in every single room of his house, including the bathrooms?
Do you think we'll ever see the list?
The black books are out there. One of them was offered for sale at Alexander Auctions, and it did not meet its reserve price of $100,000 about 6 weeks ago. So the books are out there. The names in the books are out there, but not all those names necessarily were doing anything illegal or inappropriate. I really do believe, maybe naively, that eventually we will see those lists.
Not anytime soon.
I do not think we're ever going to see the real list. We might see a list or some list, but I don't think we're ever going to see the real list. I think the truth of what took place in terms of the nefarious, disgusting stuff, that stuff's been destroyed long time ago. I don't think that's ever gonna come out, unfortunately. That sucks, man. These people definitely need to be held accountable. I'll tell you who's probably going to end up getting screwed in this is some like mid-level dudes, like lower level people who probably went to Epstein Island. I'm sure I've talked about this before, but probably went to Epstein Island because they got invited. They probably did nothing illegal, nasty, nefarious, anything. They probably just had an incredible time. But again, they now have dirt on them for being part of all that. And I think that was probably part of the way they did that. I can't imagine everybody attending was there to do underage child bad stuff. I think probably 95% of them were there as just filler. It's like they are seat fillers. That's a hilarious way to think about it. Seat fillers in Epstein Island. They were just there to make the other people feel comfortable and basically make them comfortable to do the nefarious things. That probably is the truth, actually. Isn't that funny? That's probably the methodology that took place. You'd have a bunch of random, let's say celebrities or people that have money or whatever, and they're kind of just seat fillers. They're there in Epstein Island to sort of keep the people that they actually want to get blackmail information on, I don't know, maybe feeling comfortable and at ease. That's funny, but I feel like some of those people are gonna take the fall for this. All right, let me see what else. Oh, I want to play this clip because I did an amazing interview with Royce White. I don't know if you guys know who Royce White is, but he's actually he's got some clout to him. He's an unbelievably intelligent guy that was a #1 draft pick in the NBA and ended up never playing in the NBA, actually, because he had major anxiety issues. And after getting drafted, I think he got drafted like the 16th pick in the first round by the Houston Rockets. He ended up never playing. but now he is running for Senate in Minnesota. He actually ran last year or 2 years ago against Amy Klobuchar and lost, but he's running again in 2026. Anyway, super, super intelligent guy. I had an unbelievable conversation with him that lasted over 3 hours. We actually broke it up over 2 days, so I'll probably release it in 2 segments like that. But super savvy guy, and he used to appear on the Jason Whitlock show quite a bit, and then they had a huge falling out. And ironically, I was like so team Royce on their falling out. I pretty much stopped. God, why is my voice cracking today? I pretty much stopped listening to Jason Whitlock after that. But this was a clip. Basically, I think this was maybe November of 2023. It was right when the bombing started happening in Gaza and Israel really went on the defensive. But I thought this was such a poignant take by Royce. Give it a listen. And by the way, a poignant take that has aged incredibly well.
We're gonna level Gaza. We're gonna turn it into a parking lot, and our hostages are still there, or you're going to tell me that the intelligence failed in one of the most protected places in the whole world. The intelligence failed, and now you have the counterintelligence to be able to go precisely identify and locate these Hamas terrorists. You could tell that to somebody who watches Trevor Noah or somebody who watches Sean Hannity, for example. You can't tell that to nobody who watches Steve Bannon. You can't tell that to nobody who's been watching Alex Jones for 25 years. You mean to tell me the intelligence in the most protected nation in the world was dark, and all of a sudden, when we go back to Counter-Strike, we have high-level intelligence to precisely locate the specific people we want to? No, you're going to go cleanse Palestine and Gaza because you think it's your right. And many people are making the case that it's their right.
That is seriously one of the best takes that I've heard during this entire time. Let me see if I can figure out when he said that. All right. I think it was either December 2023 or December 2024. Maybe it was, well, that might be when I downloaded the file, but it definitely was I think it was probably in 2024, early 2024. So that is absolutely a super astute take. My favorite part in that was when he said, you might convince somebody that listening to Trevor Noah or even Sean Hannity. And I love that because there's 2 big voices, one on the left being Trevor Noah and the Democrat side, and then the other guy, Sean Hannity, he's just such a shill and such a clown, but he's on the right, on the Republican side. And I love that the way he said that was, yeah, the people that listen to the far left guy and the far right guy, you might be able to pull one over on those guys, but you're not going to pull one over on the person that's listening to, in his case, he said Steve Bannon and Alex Jones. And that's funny. I like a lot of the things both of those guys say, but I also have my doubts on those guys. Anyway, that's Royce. Super good interview. I'll try to get at least part 1 of that released on Wednesday. And let me see what else. Oh, you know what? I have got to play this clip. This is so good. I forget what this gal's name is, but she co-hosts a podcast with that James Lee guy that I've talked about a few times. But this talks about how University of wherever the heck Charlie Kirk got shot. I forgot where he got shot at. But it talks about how the university basically ripped up and repaved that area a day later or 2 days later, which is still insane that the university did that. But listen to this.
Remember how we all thought it was weird that UVU was renovating the courtyard where Charlie Kirk was assassinated only a few days after the fact? Then how a UVU official addressed this, saying that it wasn't an attempt to cover up anything, that the paving work was already on the calendar as part of a planned campus renovation. Well, it turns out that UVU was reaching out to construction companies on Saturday, September 13th, only 3 days after the assassination. information. Text messages were obtained by Project Constitution via a grandma request, which allows the public to request access to government records, including state universities. Now, the names are redacted, but it shows that as early as Saturday, September 13th, they were looking to paver the whole area, and that the guys in the construction company were en route to do that. And this one's weird. Maybe that would be good. My guys are well trained in keeping quiet. Why do they need to be quiet? The exchange goes on to say that the university wants to get rid of all of the sod. The contractor asking if there's anybody on site that they should coordinate with, and someone responding, just get her done. Thank you. Usually a renovation like this would have to go through approvals and funding, not to mention it was a crime scene. Plus, if this was previously planned, would you need to be asking all of these questions, including making design decisions? So you have to wonder, how did they get this approval? And who gave it to them and why?
That was seriously such a good recap. And that is so sus. Like, that is beyond sus. I don't get it, man. I do not get it. That is so Slim Shady. It's insane. All right, that's it, everybody. 30 minutes. Wednesday, I'll try to do the Royce episode. I'm going to try to get 4 episodes this week. I'm going to try. I got to get back into the groove. All right, that's it. Call a spade a spade. Call your parents.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks. Zip more, smoke less. Totally satisfying, discreet, and delicious. Zippix nicotine-infused toothpicks are available in 6 great flavors, each containing at least 2 milligrams of nicotine to curb those cravings. Zippix is FDA registered and proudly made in the USA. Use discount code DSD for 10% off your order at zippixtoothpicks.com. Zip more, smoke less, save 10%.